flip over the board, sand the lap, and do the top lamination. In this stage, what we're doing is we're just knocking down the lap. So you can use the pneumatic grinder, or you can use a block of wood with 60 grit sandpaper. And basically, the lap, when you're putting on more resin right there, hopefully you knock down all the drippies so you don't have any drips coming down like this. But if you do, you can grind it down right now. If it's a pretty tight wrap like this, you're still going to need a little bit to hit it. And you're just really basically trying to knock down this little edge. If you leave a bump, the next fiberglass that you put over top of it, it's going to have this bump over it, right? Like that. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to sand through that second layer of fiberglass as you bring it down to flat. You want to start with it flat. That way when you put the next layer over, you're not sanding down any of the fiberglass. Like I said, we're just knocking it down. One careful thing is that you don't want to hit the foam. If you hit the foam with this 40 grit, you're going to have to go back and polish it. It's just going to kind of be a pain in the ass. So do whatever you have to do, but make sure you don't hit the foam. Here we're just taping the stands so it holds the boards down. That way you can really press on the nose and press on the tail. You just want to make sure you're cutting this first layer right around where the lap ends for the other one. The first layer is going to be shorter than the second layer for the top. So this first layer, I like to put mine like right around where the other lap stops. It kind of blends in that way. Some guys go a little bit past it for strength. You want to hold this side like this when you're cutting the other side on the nose, because otherwise this will shift over. It'll come this way. Once you get the first layer of cloth down, you're just going to lay the next layer of cloth right over top of it, and then we'll laminate everything together. This is the second layer. You want to smooth out every layer. Before you cut it, smooth it out, and then cut the lap. And you can see at this lap right here, it's going about a ½ inch past the rail, and it's definitely longer than the first layer. It's really important that the second layer overlaps the first layer by at least ½ inch. A lot of guys will pull out these loose fibers so that when you're laminating, they're going to come out no matter what. If you pull them out before you get the resin in there, it's less messy. So if you go around and you pull out any ones, it's going to be cleaner. So when I'm lining this cut up, I'm lining it up with this angle of this other rail. Everyone cuts their nose and tail differently. This is just how I cut mine. I found that this is a really clean, strong wrap. Same right here. So this one's going to wrap flat around like that. Again, everyone cuts their tails differently. This is just the way that I like wrapping it. I think it wraps pretty nicely, and it's pretty strong. This, you're cutting out this little pie shape. It makes the cloth not fold over itself. This one's going to take a little bit more resin. Some people say double. I don't think it's exactly double because a lot of the resin is wasted in the lap, and you only have one lap right here. So it's going to take more because you have that other deck inlay, and that's going to soak up some resin. So we definitely have to pour some more on. But since we're using UV cure, it won't matter because we can just pour as much as we need and pour the rest back in the bucket. This is a really common squeegee for epoxy. I just use it for everything because that's what I'm used to. Here you can see I'm going a lot slower on the rail. It's just because I'm saving the excess resin. If you're not saving the resin, you can go a lot faster and it'll saturate as well. Really the goal is just saturation. You don't want these bubbles in here. This can get in between the two layers of fiberglass or even under them. And really, once everything's saturated, then you pull everything out, pull all the excess resin out, and there should be no bubbles left. You're always pulling from the center away. For the pressure, that's really the key here. That's something that you have to learn. It's not something that is really easy to talk about. It's just, you want to pull out as much resin as you can without it being too dry. Here we're lapping the rails. Again, it's another thing where you'll just get the feel for it. This is the last thing you want to do, because if you start lapping the rails and then you pull out more resin, you're going to get a lot more drips. Also, when you're doing the laps, you want to make sure that you're not leaving behind any bubbles on the lap. You kind of have to look under it and see if everything is saturated. Again, you can see I'm working from the middle towards the nose and towards the tail. Start in the middle. And we're using UV resin, so then you take it out, set it in the sun, and let it cure.